Hi. Oh, cool. Hello, everybody. Let's wait for some people to sit. Well, it's cool. First of all, thank you for coming and not eating right now. There's lunch outside. It's not obvious. One little disclaimer. Yes, my English is not the best one. Trust me, my Russian is not much better. I came from Israel, and so if I will switch to Hebrew or something, just throw the cheer on me, and I'll try to recover it. Who familiar with this snippet? Who have ever seen this code, or similar to this, or very similar to this? Okay, very sleepy guys. Okay, raise your hands, guys. Everybody, raise your hands. Everybody, cool. Both hands. Both hands. Both hands. Okay. Now, one hand's down. Only one hand down. Yeah, now you know how to raise hands. Cool. Okay. So Angular, right? Simple Angular component. Everybody knows it. TypeScript, HTML template, and actually the rendering of the same component on the browser. Okay. So few questions about this component. What do you think? How many JavaScript files currently on this page? Who think it's about 3 files? 2 files. JavaScript files. 1 file. Okay. What's the total weight of the JavaScript on this page currently? Who thinks it's about 500K? Let's assume it's a production build, okay? Who thinks it's about 500K? 300K? Cool. 100K? Okay. Less than 50K? Anybody? Wonderful. It's only 1.2K, the total weight of the JavaScript on the page. You want to ask why? There is no Angular on this page. Okay? It's a decorator. It's just a simple decorator that gets the configuration that we have, that we pass in the decorator, and just creating the simple web element and appending to the HTML. That's it, okay? Do some transpilation with the text. The code is not the best one. It's not the production code. It's just a snippet to show the decorator and not how we're working with this. So, my name is Daniel Ostrovsky, and I'm web team lead at Kaltura. I have more than 20 years experience in the web development. I'm a full cycle developer, everything from CSS up to the DevOps, everything that's related to the web system, anyhow. This is my Twitter account. I'm trying to get the 200 followers, so just get out your phones and start following me. And today we will talk about the decorators. Subjects. What decorator is, when we do need and when actually not. We'll cover property decorators, method, class decorators. Probably, hopefully, if we'll have enough time, we will touch also the arguments. But it's only the TypeScript. By the way, who is TypeScript lovers? Oh, so I can show all examples on TypeScript? Not all of them, but some of them. Okay. And many other things, okay? Who Angular lovers? Object-oriented lovers? Functional programming? You can go eat. Okay. So what decorator is? Basically, decorator is design pattern, okay? Was described in this wonderful book like more than 20 years ago, in 1996, if I remember right. The description is extend the functionality of classes and methods in a clean and declarative way. It's pretty old. Disclaimer, decorator does not exist in JavaScript. Okay, it's not part of the language. It's currently in the process TC39. Who familiar with the TC39? Wonderful, great. We will talk about it later. Stage 2, that means hopefully in 10 years it will be accepted to stage 3, and then browsers will support it. Currently, stage 2 meaning that actually Babel knows how to transpile it. Okay, this is less like very simplified description of meaning the different stages. Saying that, we have a few frameworks, Angular, Nest.js, Stencil, Mobix, with help of the TypeScript, they're actually using decorators, as we saw, the component and injectable and all this. Also, we have some libraries with the decorators already predefined, so we can just npm install it and use the already written decorators. Very useful, for example, loadage decorators and core decorators. Proposal. The guy who made the first proposal for TC39 EUDA cuts back in 2015. Anybody can say that it's not EUDA cuts? Thank you. Okay. This is EUDA cuts. Okay. Back in, by the way, that picture is just the first picture that you can see on the Google Images when you look up for the EUDA cuts. Okay, so this is the guy most familiar with this face. Okay, creator of node.js. So he made the proposal for the decorators. Basically, the same description as if somebody familiar with the Python and ever have used Python in their lives, you know what the decorators is. Okay. It's just copy-paste from the Python to the JavaScript, less or more. So the description proposal was pretty simple. Decorator is expression that evaluates to a function, takes the target name and property descriptor as an argument, and optionally returns a property descriptor to install on the target object. It's an old description. It's an old proposal. It's relevant only for class methods. It does not relevant for the class decorators, does not relevant for the class property decorators, definitely not relevant for the class, for the method argument decorator, so it's just the initial one, okay? You can go to this link and read all the proposal, and there's huge discussion about what is decorators use cases, problems with implementation, and also it will be very helpful if people will say, hey, we want these decorators, let's continue, let's move to the next stage, so just go to this link and say your hi there. Common use of decorators. Many of them. This is just very, very small snippet of them, like helpers, loggers, performance measuring, memorization, caching, on the other hand, validation, web worker runners. Hopefully, we'll have time to show how it works. And many, 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 many other things too. Before we jump into the decorator, to the examples, the actual examples, wow, how many people here? I want to go over what descriptor is, okay? Because I know that for somebody of you it's like obvious, we know what's a descriptor. For some people, usually it's like descriptor, what are you talking about? So for me, descriptor is a kind of metadata, meta object of the property, specific property, okay? Something additional information that I can get from about the property I'm interested in. So let's take, for example, simple to do object with a summary, assigned, and deadline. We will talk about the property deadline. To get the descriptor out of the, to get the property descriptor, the only thing that we need is actually to use the static method get on property descriptor. Okay, there's some methods, I don't know, 5, 6, 10 methods that related to the property descriptor, get on property descriptor single, multiple, define property descriptor, and many other things that's all around the descriptor itself. We pass in actually the object, okay, and the key name of the property we need the descriptor to get. And the output, this is our output, okay? We have a value, writable, enumerable, configurable. Also, there's two functions, two methods, get and set. Let's look closer. Value, actual property value. In our case, it's a long number. Okay. Writable represents if we can change this value or not. If I will set the writable false, I won't be able to change the value in strict mode. Enumerable, meaning if it's if this property is iterable. Okay, it's mean running object keys over the property. Over the object. We won't get this property in the array, in the result array. Okay, the same with the for loop, for let care of to the object, it will just keep this property. Saying that, I have to admit, please note, is has own property will return true. Okay, anyway. And configurable represents if it's all this writable, enumerable, configurable can be changed. Okay, so on the other hand, for example, writable. You can change true, false how many times you want. Enumerable, you can change true, false how many you want. Value, you can change, of course. But since you're changing the configurable to false, and you want to to revert or to change writable for something else, or enumerable for something else, or configurable to make it back true, you have to redefine the property. Okay, you just can't change the. You can't make any changes on the descriptor anymore after you set configurable false. Okay. How looks class member decorator? This is our example to do object. And what is decorator is. So basically, decorator is very simple, and it's very old pattern. We're familiar with this pattern many years ago. Okay, it's just higher order function. The function that takes some other function, extends its functionality, or extends some behavior, hopefully without modifying it. That's my own hope. Okay, because if just think about it, you're decorating some function, and you change the functionality of the function in the decorator. So nobody will understand what's going on there. And return it. So add, it's indicator for the parser that we use in the decorator, and the read-only, actually, it's a name of our higher order function that we will use later. Higher order function, read-only, our decorator accept in arguments target. It's our class, to-do object. Key, string, the name of the decorated method, or the name of the decorated property, and descriptor. The same descriptor, we will use the getOnProperty descriptor with the, and passing over their class and the property name. This is signature in the TypeScript. Okay. Method decorator, target property descriptor, parameter decorator, accept target property, and the parameter index, okay, the number in the index in the signature, in the method signature. Property decorator accept only the target and property key. The reason because decorator fires evaluates during the compilation time, and during the compilation time we do not have properties on the class. They're just undefined. We will see it later on the examples. And the class decorator accept only the class. That's it. You don't need anything else. Oh. So I will start with the simple examples here. Do you see everybody code, right? Do we see something here? Can I? Ooh, cool. Okay. So here's our class, simple class. Empty constructor, primes, return number of the prime numbers in the given number. And I have a question for you. How many times when you start developing, or during the development, or during debugging, you add the console log in beginning of the function? Wonderful. How many times you do it in the end of the function with the results? I want to console the results, right? I want to see, measure the function, right? And starting the time start beginning, time start end. Sorry. So for this case, we can use simple function, simple decorator called log. Okay. And now, oops. Wonderful. Compilation time started, compilation time evaluation of the decorator. Decorator method primes, what we actually decorated, was fired. It got arguments, this number that we just passed over here, from here, okay? And also the result of the method was, okay? And everything with a simple log. Let's see the implementation. Cool. The implementation. Okay. So basically, this is a decorator. Okay. This is higher order function. The reason why we're doing covering with the other function that returns the function that returns our covered function is because we want to pass arguments sometimes. Okay. So to have an ability, if I will use, sorry, let's go back here. If I was just this, like this binded function, okay, I will have only the decorator with target, key, and descriptor, and I won't be able to pass arguments over there. If I want to pass arguments over there, so I have to wrap my decorator with the other function that will return actual decorator. Okay, and then in this case, I can pass arguments over there. And so yes, this code runs in the compilation time, okay, when interpreter goes from up to down. What we're doing here, actually, we're saving the original value, in the case original value is a method, primes, okay, on side, and we're overriding this method with our own function. Now, be careful with this, because basically it gives you a lot of power. Think about it. You have a decorator, okay, like this. You have some logic, and it's return you whatever. You have no idea where it's come from, okay? Start, sending the logs or whatever, and you have no idea where it's come from. So be careful with what you're doing inside of the decorator, okay? Because you have a lot of power there. You can change, actually you have target, okay? So you can change the entire class. You can add properties on the class, you can remove properties on the class, etc. So we're updating. What we're doing here, actually, some logs, okay, was fired. Here's an arguments. Here's the execution of original function, and we're saving the results on site. We're passing their arguments, okay? And that's it. Then we console logging the result and actually returning the results to the main thread, okay, where we started from. The other very useful decorator timer that will show how long this took, okay? It was 2.4 seconds, okay? And one of the reasons why I like to use decorators, for example, is a log or timer. Also, you can combine, you can log and measuring the time in the same decorator, is that you can pass there, for example, as a parameters, okay? I can pass my custom log function, okay? This is my custom log function. Okay, and now the decorator uses my log function, start of my very cool console function. If you use logs, and I hope you do use logs on your environments, especially on the dev environments during the development, I hope you use some kind of third-party service, log.io or whatever, some kind of place where you send all your logs, and then you have a nice dashboard that nobody have no idea how to find the errors. So you can just pass here the function that will do it for you, okay, and send everything to the third party, to the services, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's much more easier than to implement the log all over the code, and then when you go to production, you have to clean it, or have to run some script that will kill all console logs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can do just, create your own logger, make it do whatever you need, and you can pass it to the decorator if you want. Implementation, of course. Here we have the logger as an optional argument. The same technique, saving the original value, original method on site. T now, T then, minus the original one, executing on the function between console and log result, okay, checking the logger is not, and then returning the results, okay? Simple. Nothing special. Cache. Let's use cache. Let's see if it works, first of all. Cool, okay. Yeah. Cache. Caching will basically return you the previous, what's going on? Okay. Okay. One, two, three. Okay. First time, when method was fired with this number, it took like 2.2 seconds. The other arguments 1.5 seconds, and when we pass the same argument again, it's just 0 seconds, okay? Because we cached the result based on the arguments it was passed. Also have to be careful with this approach. Sometimes function that you want to cache the results can get additional values somewhere from, from the other places, not based on the arguments that you pass. And in that case, if the other values that this method use, they changed, so you will have the wrong results. Okay, so basically you have to, to be very, very careful with using the cache. Don't use this implementation. Yeah, this is the implementation, but don't use it. Okay, it's just simple caching, based on the object key value, creating the local cache, values if exist, adding, not exist, not adding, etc. Use memoize library. Okay, it gives you more power over it, gives you more flexibility. You can pass the arguments to the decorator, what you want to do, when you want to invalidate cache, etc., etc., etc. Okay. What next do we have? Game. Let's play some game. You want to play some game? Cool. Okay, this is two decorators. Basically, what they're doing is multiplying. The one is multiplying by factor the results from the original from decorated method, and the second one just add number to the decorated method. Okay. Here our class method. Both methods, method A, method B, returns 5. But on one of them, we have decorator multiply by factor 3 and plus 1,000. In another one, they have the opposite order. Okay, decorator chaining. Question. Now take 5 seconds to calculate what the results would be after the firing method A and what is the results would be after firing method B. Okay. Raise your hands who think that the results of firing method A will return 3015. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's put here number 10. Raise your hands who think method B will return 1015. Method B will return 1015. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15. Okay. Who think method A will return 1015? I like it. Who think? I don't see anybody. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 12. And who think method B will return 3015? Thanks, I'm not epileptic, otherwise I will. Who think method B will be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Just leave it like this. It's okay. I know. That's good. Okay. So let's run. Let's check. What do we have here? Method A, 3015. Method B, 1015. So we have only this number. The reason decorators are evaluated from top to bottom, like a regular script, executed from bottom to top. Okay? So in this case, we will first of all add 1,000 and then multiply it by factor. And this case is another one. First of all, we'll multiply it and then we'll add the number. It's very important to understand, especially when you're playing with the decorators and you set them and you change the results. It's highly important to remember, that the results will go from down to top and not the back, not the other way around. Okay, because kind of confusing. Basically, easy way to remember it is just, okay, this is my method. It's returned to the one above me, and this one returns to the one above this one. So like from the original one to upstairs. Priority of the execution. We have many decorators. And we want to know the priority of the execution. I just created the one simple decorator. It doesn't have any logic in it. It's just console log, okay? Nothing else. Not execution, sorry, priority of compilation. So we have the same decorator over the class, over the property, over the method, property method, parameter method, constructor, etc., 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 okay? So basically, it's pretty simple, okay? Property decorators and method decorators from top to bottom, okay? The first one is evaluates. Then the parameter decorator, okay, or the decorated method. The last one is a class decorator, and the last one is the actually constructor parameter decorator. It's in TypeScript, okay? Parameter decorators, they are only in TypeScript, so just not in JavaScript. So, do we have another time? Oh, we have a lot of time. Let's see other examples. I will send a link all over these examples. Class decorator. It's a TypeScript, okay? So class decorator accepts only the target, and it returns a constructor. Now, when you're playing with the decorator, when you're decorating the class, one of the things that was helpful for me is to always remember that constructor is nothing but function, okay, which used to add some methods on prototype and initialize some values, okay? It's just a function, nothing else. It does not make any magic behind it, okay? For me, like when I was younger, it was very, constructor, what is it, what's it doing? Instance, instantiation, whatever, etc. Just function, nothing else. Simple, simple, simple function. Okay. Example of the class decorator. This decorator, what it does, it actually validates the number of arguments passed in during the instantiation of the class. Okay. So what it does check, since it have the constructor, okay, the function that gets all these arguments, and also it's get the arguments that pass during the instantiation. So here, these arguments is actually that you pass during the instance, okay, when you fire in the constructor function. And target length, okay, this is the way to know, but also any function, if you know, not any function, length will return you the number of arguments in the signature of the function, okay? So since target is our function, it's a constructor function, target length will return number of arguments that we have in the constructor, okay? And we can actually compare. If, for example, if you want to ensure that somebody use your code will pass the exact number of arguments, you can use this decorator. Of course, you can also pass like types, etc. For example, if you use TypeScript, you can go look at the IOTS, okay? I think, yeah. And you can actually validate and be sure that all types, all arguments that pass during the instantiation of the class, they are types that you actually want to be used in this class, okay? It's very, very highly useful on the public libraries and the code sharing between different teams, etc., etc., etc. Next one. Let's look on the read-only example. Now, this read-only example shows actually the basic example of this example shows okay, sorry, my bad, not read-only, property log. The property decorator, our property, param, property log. what you have to do in JavaScript or in TypeScript if you want to log each time when value on the class, on the property is changed. Get set, right? But only if you need it during the development. So you need to create it, get setter, right? And then remove it. You're not going to leave this get set all over your code, right? Okay. Or you can just decorate it. Okay. And inside of the decorator, what we can do, okay, it's not, sorry, it's not IDE. Here. And inside of the decorator, property decorator, you can define getter and setter, set it with a defined property, like you change in the descriptor of the property, okay? Because this is object-defined property. You pass the target, this actually the class, the object, key, the name of the property you want to define on this object, and descriptor, okay? You see the descriptor, have enumerable, configurable, writable by default true, and set and get to method that actually it's ours. We just created new ones, okay, our own. And during this is our functions, okay, get, set, and we log in the values. We can log when it's created, when it's assigned new values, okay, or somebody read these values. We can also log it if we need it. Of course, we can pass here into this decorator kind of logger, other function that will send all these logs wherever we need it, etc., etc., etc. Very useful, very simple, clean code, much cleaner than to create, get, and set all over especially when we need like, 10 different properties to log and to understand what's going on. Instead of have many setters and getters, just decorate it and it will be, and other developers will tell you thank you. Will say you thank you. Deprecator. Okay. Also, very easy implementation. All we need to do is to show the log, console log. Where is it? Method in one deprecation message. Okay. I want to show this example on runtime. Where is index? Why I have only one file here? Why not two? Okay. Deprecation. Okay. Now, this method was fired 3 times. 3 times we have this deprecation warning. Okay, deprecation warning shows, hey, message deprecation in class and the method. Okay, we can pass the parameter. The different parameter will show on init only, and then the warning will be fired only 1 time during the compilation and not during the execution of the functions. Okay, this is this good example to show the difference between compilation time and execution time of the decorated method. So, cool. So here we're going. Sorry. Okay. Our option, okay, on init only. Our decorator. Here's just some simple logic based on the properties on the option we pass in. For example, URL that can send you link to external data about the deprecation, what have to be used instead, etc. The default message if you want to write your beautiful message about the deprecation, and init only. It actually says, hey, it's only during the compilation show 1 time, or no, next version will be removed. This method will be removed, so we won't actually to warning each time when this method is executed, okay? So basically, again, this logic is just to create the message, and here we're checking if it's on init only, so we send in the log, okay, and return the descriptor without any modifications. In case on init only is false, and we need to notify user each time the method is executed, we're doing the same trick as always. Saving the method on site, doing the console log, and actually then executing the method. Okay, pretty simple, nothing, not much special. Okay, Priority, we've been there. Okay. We have a lot of Angular lovers, right? Here. You want to see some examples for Angular dedicated? Let's go. Let's do it. Okay. Media queries. In Angular material design, okay? There is some ugly functions to do it. Where is it? Here, okay? Like this kind of very poor snippet example code to see all these break points when Windows resized, etc. Okay, if somebody playing with the window, with a view, with our browser, etc. So now it's just in my use case. Okay, when I thought about this decorator, we had huge application, SaaS platform, with a lot of components, with a lot of teams that working on these components, etc. And many times we had to understand in each one of the companies to have its own breakpoint. Not common breakpoints for entire application. Yeah, we have a very nice product manager, okay? Each component has its own set of breakpoints that have to be react on, okay? In this case, and basically a lot of logic based on the view it exists or based on the size of the window, it's inside of the component itself. Okay, I know it's not the best approach, but that's what we had to do. Instead of using this code all over the components to understand what's going on with the view, we can use only simple, where is it? Here. Simple decorator. As a parameter, I can pass, for example, specific breakpoint I'm interested in that will return me true or false if it's in this media query or not in media query. Okay? To see how it works, this one is a static one. That means it works only once during the onload. And this one is a subscriber observable, okay, when we can subscribe and to see the results all the time, and to view it. So just to show, look at this V, green one, okay, in this case, and you will see that it's jumping up very, 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 very easy, okay. And it's all done with a simple decorator. Nice. Another one, here's an implementation if you want to see. Basically, we're doing all this logic that we had in the ugly logic that we have in the, the previous example. I just covered into decorator, make it a little bit more robust, can pass different arguments, set of breakpoints that you want. Okay, you can define the different set breakpoints that you need to get on different components, pass it to the decorator, and decorator will react relatively to this. And another example that I want to show you, and I love it very, very much, but nobody else don't like it, and it will be our last example, it's web workers. Okay. Now, this is Canvas, JavaScript, right? What will happen if I will try to calculate prime numbers, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, like on sync way, on synchronous way? What will happen with the Canvas? Redrawing? Oh, it will just stuck. Let's add 1 with 0. Thinking. Okay. Low battery. No, it's not. Okay. We have some battery. We have the results, but it was stuck. Okay. But what if I will send it to web worker? Calculating, but still running. The main JavaScript on the main window is still running. Here's the results came back up from the web worker. And how it looks like. Yep, sorry, here. This is function. This is function, the same primes, just decorated with this one results will return you a promise. This one will return you the observable. Okay? I have a function that does some heavy calculations, data processing, etc., I can just decorate it with a decorator, and it will be executed in web worker. The implementation of it, you can find on the links. Okay? Why? Because there's a lot of anti-patterns. Be honest with you, I will be very, very surprised if somebody will actually use it on the production. So that's why I'm not showing it. But as an example of how decorators are cool, I think it's a great example. Okay, what next? Thank you. And don't forget to follow. We have a target get. We have to get a target, right? The 200 followers. Questions? Yeah. Microphone is not working. Кричи. Yeah, English. We have English people.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Probably it's a question about your experience. Maybe you can give some advices when we shouldn't use decorators in a combination with Angular. Why I'm asking it? Because I've tried, for example, to decorate Angular modules and had troubles with injectable entities. And also we know about problems with live hooks. If we reuse it, we need to define them in the component because of the compilation and so on. Okay. Maybe you know also some situations.
Okay. First of all, be honest, I never tried to decorate ng modules. Okay, the module itself. Decorating, for example, to decorate the component, it's very easy. Okay, especially with the last one, with the latest version of compiler Ivy. Okay, they provide you the component factory that you can do whatever you want. You have the full API in your hands. So I think I'm convinced that will be more custom decorators for the components. Okay. About when do not use it with Angular, use it always. Just use it. Okay, you will find the cases when you're not going to use it. But basically, don't use decorator that you use only once in your code. Okay, just don't. If you have the high order function or high order component or something like this that you use more than twice, more than once, create decorator. But if you use only create a decorator for the single use, okay, to create to decorate one function and you don't use it anymore in your code, the same decorator, don't create decorator, no need. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for presentation. You mentioned that decorator's proposal was done several years ago. Was there some issues or maybe objections? So it's not still in stable version and it's not really in TypeScript release. Is it some estimate when it will be done and when it will be production ready?
Good question. Great question. Nobody knows. Okay, first of all, it's not so long time ago. It's only in 2015. Okay, and the main problem is with the backward compatibility of the decorator, and also with the definition of what it should do and how it will. Like they have a lot of fight between them about decorator that returns decorator, the definition what is a wrapper, and also the definition of the built-in JavaScript decorators. Okay, it's more about not the decorator itself to be or not to be. It's how it should look like. Okay, and since decorator will actually, I think, will change the JavaScript world. Basically, less or less will be under like it's comparable to the classes. Okay, when it was the syntax sugar class came into the JavaScript, everybody was, oh, it's changed, so code became readable and whatever. Okay, so decorator will do the same effect, less or more. And because this will do the same effect, and they have a lot of additional functionality they want to add together with publishing decorators into the language. So they have a lot of things around it. Okay, it's not like, for example, the conditional if, the conditional undefined, the chaining undefined, the question mark. You know what I'm talking about? The latest cool things. It was like pretty simple. Okay, it was like a year or 2 years. Okay, like backward compatible, yes. Everybody's not going to break nobody, yes. Simple functionality, yes. Let's add it. 2 years, it's in production. About the decorators, is much more complex. Much more complicated.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Any more?
Thank you. My question is related to your example method decorator. Did I get right that function will be called twice when you use log decorator or cache?
Again, I didn't understand the question. If decorated method.
Your example with method decorator.
Okay, yes.
And for example, log decorator. Did I get right that that function will be called twice?
The decorated method? The method itself or the decorator?
In the decorator implementation, you call this function to calculate time of...
right, I'm doing
yes.
the apply, yes.
And will this function called again by original callee?
No.
No, just one time. Okay.
Because that's you doing. You actually overriding. You're literally overriding the method. Okay.
Yes.
So
okay.
This is the origin. I'm saving the origin, and here's the value. I'm just changing the function.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it.
Just want to clarify.
For everybody who right now here is an bonus. Okay. If I will change descriptor on writable false, nobody won't be able to override my method. Highly useful on the public libraries. When somebody tries always to, somebody thinks that he knows better than you, okay, and they want to override your methods, highly recommended to use it, okay? Just, yeah, thank you for the question. Anybody else? That's it?
So thank you very much.
Thank you.